Hello, and welcome to Navigating to Success. I am Jeff Carlton, certified focal point business and executive coach. And on this episode, I'm very pleased to have a fellow Montana owner, Tyler Smith, owner of Lakeside Excavation in Havre, Montana. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. A core business, it's almost recession proof. And maybe you'll correct me on that, but somebody always needs some dirt moved. Tell me about Lakeside Excavation.
So we started out, my father started the company in the late 70s, predominantly to build an RV park or trailer court, I guess is a more accurate term. And it was 125 spaces. So he went out and bought a backhoe, got the water and sewer done for this park and the roads done for this park. And then he was the quintessential man with a backhoe, right? You had a broken water line or needed a sewer repaired. He went and did that. And, he was successful. We did turn the corner in about 94. We did some small conduit pipe in a WAPA substation. And that was the first quote unquote big job I remember.
Right.
And it was miserable. It was 30 below. We're trying to work with 2-inch conduit. If you look at it wrong, it just breaks like an egg. It was not any fun. And the thing I remember most about that is there was a bunch of CAD welding to do. And I don't know if you've done it before, but you put two copper wires together and you light off this firework. Well, the reason I like doing it is that stuff gets like 600 or 800 or 1,000 degrees. And when it's 30 below, you can almost get warm next to that stuff.
All right.
Um,
Well, you just answered my innovation question. That's awesome.
so what he passed away in 2004. I took the reins, and we've steered predominantly towards governmental. When somebody hears I'm from Montana, right? I say, not the Montana you're thinking of. It's on the other side. We're out in the prairie. We're not flooded with Californians yet. You got to be a special kind of hard to live out here because the wind blows cold. It blows often
Discuss.
and it can be a very inhospitable atmosphere. So I've just kind of organically grown it into this heavy civil governmental company. We predominantly work on water and wastewater, although a lot more wastewater. Everything from cut and cover pipe rehab to pipe bursting to maintenance, televising, including here lately, lots of lift station rehabs, everywhere from a triplex system down to, a small system for a school.
All right.
Um,
So, how big are you? How many pieces of equipment? How many employees?
I was shocked. We're probably a little heavy on the equipment side. I think my equipment inventory is around 80 pieces.
Well,
So that's everything, we're calling a jumping jack a piece, right? And we're calling a 330 cat excavator a piece. So we've got a fairly good inventory. Couple of dozers, couple of skid steers. Um, yeah, we get by on 5, 6 people out in the field. I should have a couple more than that, but hiring is still a challenge for us, and especially, you know, doing underground utilities. It's not like you're just going to sit in a hoe, right? You bounce around, you do things, and some people they don't want that, right? They just want to sit in that excavator and load trucks, and
no, it
that,
still requires the shovel and the original excavator.
yep,
Sometimes,
yep.
sometimes you got to get muddy and run a shovel. I certainly get that. So, the government contracts and everything. So, was that a decision you made because it's steadier, more consistent work? or
It was a couple of things I really believe. One, it was higher dollar volumes. And I felt like we needed to get, to get the net up, we needed to get our revenue up. And so we focused on those. And I liked the sweet spot, the jobs that I really like are in that 1.5 to $3 million range. But with that being said, I really try to remember where I come from. So if somebody calls and they have a leaking water service on a house, we'll go do that too.
no, that's awesome. And you kind of touched on it earlier. It's one of the reasons that I went into business coaching. It was out here we got to cooperate to graduate. Um, it's hard running a business, especially a business that's seasonal and outdoors in the rural plains and Rocky Mountain West. So you offer a critical service. That's great. And I know Havre a little bit. It's a small community, so
Yeah, we're about 8,500 people here, and I mean we've got a reservation to the south and one to the east. There's some money being spent there. Last year was the first year that we did a significant job out there, and it went well. I still am a little cautious of that market because their rules apply, your rules don't
right.
apply. So
Regulation.
yeah, you need to be careful about what you're getting into because, in my opinion, if you get in tribal court, you're playing by their rules and it's probably not going to favor you.
Right. So you were kind of talking about, earlier when you said not the Montana you're thinking of. It's a different kind of hard out here. And I don't disagree with you. Even yeah, I'm kind of on the foothills of the Rocky Mountain front, but um, how much work do you do outside of the local area? I mean, when I
So,
say local, let's put a 200-mile radius on that. You're north central Montana. What do you do
so
around the rest of
my
the state?
what I call my market is from Plentywood to Cutbank. Now, we don't do a lot of work on the fringe, but one of the largest project I ever had was actually in Plentywood, and we spent 2.5 seasons there. And, it was a major job as far as we were the general contractor. And so there was a slip lining sub in there and paving and, a lot of work. But I don't get in the what I call the valleys, the Bitterroot Valley or,
Right.
the Yellowstone Valley. There's enough people down there trying to do that stuff. And we don't get a lot of subdivision work. I mean, there's a lot of those guys down in the Gallatin Valley where they've only been doing subdivisions for the last 10 years, and
Right.
it's just not something we get into.
Yeah, well, and that's smart. I mean, don't compete in markets where you have to compete. Find your blue
Well,
ocean and stay there.
and I think we've done well by finding that little more technical project and not having, everybody with a pickup, a dog, and a level competing against you because you're going to lose out in that situation, right?
Yeah. So tell me, so when you say technical market, you're talking about kind of finding a niche skill set that you have. Tell me what that is.
So, for example, we would look at a job that had a sewer wet well that was like 30 feet deep in some water because that's going to scare a lot of people off. And
Right.
then we take a very laser focused look at it and put a number out there that gives us, the opportunity to succeed. And um, we've we've definitely done that. So, and I don't want to go bid a job somewhere, whether it's for a city or a private owner, where I want to be in that 2 to 5 bidder range. not the 8 to 10. Because if you're cheapest out of 8 to 10, you're really probably not doing something right.
Yeah, your margins aren't there. No, and you're in a good situation where you've got a niche market, you've got a skill set, and if uh, you're not overextended. So let me take you back to 2004. Let's talk about I mean, obviously you had a mentor in your dad. You got to
Yep.
see how he was running the business before you took it over. Or what were kind of in those first 5 to 10 years of you taking over the business that you learned the hard way? What were your biggest challenges?
You know, God, I don't think about the challenges like that. Um, I guess the first thing was, you know, he was doing in the last years of his life, he was working for a major landowner in the Bear Paws. And as I started coming into it, that work went away. They chose somebody else. And so that was something that was difficult to overcome because it had always been a thing that there was one or two crews out there. And
Right.
then pretty soon there were no crews out there. And that's why we took a look around and had to move towards this governmental stuff.
So, on that note, how important do you think it is to have personal relationships with your client base?
I think it's hugely important to maintain positive relationships, not only with the client base, with your banker, with your, suppliers. Um, that stuff is so important. And I probably don't take enough time, even now, to do that stuff like I should. And I guess I'll segue one big thing that I'm involved with is our Montana Contractors Organization.
I saw
And
that.
people that are in the industry, the reason I'm successful as I am is that organization. And it's one of those things where you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So, if you just mail your check away, you're not going to get very much out of it. But if you go to those meetings and you participate in the committees that are relevant to you, you're going to get a lot of it out. I've got relationships from that organization that has helped me here in our local hometown. There was a senior housing thing that was built, and I think we were just a skosh above the next guy providing civil scope. And the owner said, "Nope, I've known you through the MCA for 10 years. You're our guy." And when you can get people to choose you because they know you and they agree with your ethics and everything else, you really start winning.
Yeah, I think you just made a hell of a plug for uh, laying the foundation of a solid referral network and um, and establishing your reputation and your professional brand. That's fantastic. Um, I want to take you back to what you said early on about hiring. Is hiring a challenge because you can't find the skill set or you can't find people that are willing to work?
So, some of both, right? It has, in the last 2 years, it has been easier to infill those lower tier, the laborers, maybe truck drivers are in such short supply. But when you'll see some of those, but as far as a superintendent that knows the specifications, that can, run and manage people, those are such a rarity that
Yeah.
this last year we definitely could have used another superintendent. But you see the staffing companies or the referral companies come and offer to, wow, we can get you a superintendent for $25,000. And maybe if I trusted you, I would be entertaining this, but I just don't see any way that someone is going to come from Alabama and spend year round in Montana.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, we could talk another hour about the concept of trust. Um, yeah, absolutely. So to close it up real briefly, tell me what is your strategic plan? What do you look like in 2 to 3 years?
2 to 3 years, I would like to be at that two crew, maybe not necessarily on independent jobs, but I would like to have two full-blown pipe crews um, working in the municipal space. Um, I've it's just we got to find that a superintendent because here in about that time of frame, I mean, I've got the quintessential superintendent who's, in his late 50s and he's looking to retire, and we need to put that person underneath of him so they can have a couple of years and get that training done.
So apart from looking for another capable superintendent, or growing one from your existing staff, who are you hiring? Give yourself a shameless plug for recruiting here.
So, what one of the positions that we don't have filled, we need a kick-ass pipe layer. One that can do the math, shoot the grades, knows the alignment, knows what fittings he needs to lay out a hydrant tee or, tie in of a manhole. And after that, operators, truck drivers, superintendents. But if you're a pipe layer and you're looking to relocate to beautiful Havre, Montana, give me a call. The great thing about us is, we're working on those prevailing wage jobs. So you're mid 40s starting out. And
Yeah,
if and
there's
if
a
you're
lot of money to be made. You just better
yeah,
spend some of it on good boots and long johns because it is the season, folks. Gets cold. All
it gets cold.
right. Cool. Well, Tyler, thanks for joining us on this episode. We'll wrap it up. Any parting shots before we sign off?
You know, I don't think I have anything tremendously profound to share with you other than the one thing I think if someone is looking to get into this industry, I would and I do believe it was Mike Rowe said, just take pride in your work. I think,
Yeah.
when we talk about people don't like to work anymore, what we're really saying is people don't take pride in their work like they used to. And if you come to me and you take pride in your work and you don't have any skills, I will help to teach you the skills. But show up early every day, be engaged. That's how you win. As I look forth on the business side, I've kind of made a shift in how I think. I used to worry about competitions and margins, and now I kind of look at it, who's going to do the work, Jeff? And
Right.
so when you make that shift of who's going to do the work, you don't want all the jobs. You want the jobs that get you the margin. So I don't get down like I used to, and it's ultimately been pretty good for us.
Yeah, that was great words on leadership and growing your people as opposed to just you know, you grow your people within, nurture them. Because it's a hell of a lot easier to grow somebody that you have on board than go and find somebody that if somebody else grew them and they're unemployed, there might be a reason for that. So,
Well, and that's 100% accurate, right? I mean, it, and the other thing that just give me a bunch of pause are big gaps in resumes.
sure.
Why were you okay with sitting on the sidelines for 2 years?
Right.
Tell me that story. And I guess the one last thing before you let me go, the one thing, some of my motivation of doing this we in this industry need to do a much better job about telling our story, whatever that story is. So
Yeah.
part of my story is I freaking love snowmobiling. So got a house in Sealy Lake, enjoy riding, and we've made some business changes so I can actually do accounting and estimation while I'm in Sealy Lake. And when the snow's good, I go snowmobiling. And that's why civil construction really works for me, is that time of the year, we're not all that busy, and I can go do what I love.
Healthy balance, folks. That's healthy work-life balance and running your business so that it doesn't run you. Tyler, thanks again for everybody that joined us. We'll see you on the next Business Journey Explored. Take care.